you grow up with a NES, PlayStation, Star Wars, cartoons, and 80s TV? Do you like to think who would win in a fight between Batman and the Master Chief? Comics, games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of geeks. Games, movies, music, and TV, they're gonna tell you everything you need. Superheroes or not, they got your back. They're gonna save the world of This Week in Geek. This Week in Geek.
Hello. Back again with another episode. This is the first one, technically, since I've made my triumphant return from semi-summer vacation. And we have 3 reviews here for you. One from both of us, both Birdman and myself, and then 2 from me. These are ones that we wanted to get out now because in some cases the games have been with us for review for a few weeks, and it just took a while to actually beat them because they were meaty games, and just didn't want to wait till slots opened up on our regular show. So here it is. This isn't going to be a super chonky, huge Overlord He A-Comin' episode like last one or 2 of them. This is going to be 3 reviews, and in the interim between stuff that we were playing here, I did get a chance to check out Scarlet Nexus. I figured I'd just sort of briefly mention it at the beginning. It was on sale, and I picked it up for basically half off, which should have been telling since it's only been out a month and a half, maybe 2 months. No, I don't even think it's that long. And great battle system, terrible story and execution. A lot of palette swapping going on, a lot of running back and forth in the same maps over and over again that are confusing looking, hard on the eyes. Not a great visual style, I'll say that. Great character design for the enemies, gross and weird. The story is abysmally hard to follow, and to the point where it becomes boring. And it tries to meld in some of the character relationship management you see in like a Persona game, only it doesn't do it very well. The voice acting is good. The script is terrible, but the voice acting is good. So skip everything you can. The combat is great, but it's like they built up a combat system and then went, oh crap, we should really make a game here. So the trailers did not do it justice. Like they were hiding its faults hardcore. I would not recommend playing it unless it hits like a Game Pass or becomes like $10-$20 max. They'd expect you to play the game twice to get the proper ending, and it was like 16 hours for me to beat because I skipped through all the dialogue once it became inane and crazy, and then I would just read back in the game what the summary of the scripts were, and it's so bad. Time travel, weird moon people. No, this is sci-fi done wrong. But if you want sci-fi done right, play something like was it 13 Sentinels Aegis? Yeah. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim? Yes. Whatever. So played that. And I've sort of caught up on all the games that I'm going to be playing until some of the review games start coming in again. But I'll talk about what we've got coming up at the end of the show. But for right now, the reviews we've got in the show is, first up, we're going to have a review of NIS America's Prinny Presents NIS Classics Volume 1. That's a long title, and that includes Phantom Brave and Soul Nomad. Following that, we're going to have the joint review that Birdman and I conducted, where we discussed Ghost of Tsushima, the PS5 version. From my point of view, I was somebody who had 100% of the game, I didn't collect every banner in the initial PS4 version, but somebody I was very intimately connected to the game, playing it for review last year. I played it, did a bit of a test run on the PS5 differences, and then I played all of the DLC with the Iki Island and Birdman, going into it completely cold, not really knowing anything except that I had hyped it up like crazy. And he's going into it cold, playing on the PS5 from scratch all the way through. So we're discussing that in the middle review, and at the very end, we're going to have my review of WRC 10, which I received a review code for that on PlayStation 5, as well as on the Series X and S. And then I'll come back at the end and sort of describe what's coming up on the show and what have we got on the run.
Basically, he's a geek, sir.
Leave me alone, geek boy.
Holy shit, you geeks are badass.
A little while ago, our friends at NIS America sent a review code to us for NIS Classics Volume 1, which I think it's going to be a sort of test run to see how this kind of project gets greenlit or not in the future. And that is taking a couple titles from their earlier catalog, specifically the PS2, and bringing them forward in a method that works on the Switch, where it's playing in HD, but without much of a major upgrade as far as, like it's not a completely redone or remade game, but putting two of them together, having them internally render at a higher resolution, and obviously, making some slight changes here and there to make sure that it's compatible with the Switch hardware. Now, the two titles that are included here are Phantom Brave, as well as Soul Nomad and the World Eaters. Now, I did own Soul Nomad and the World Eaters in my collecting days when I was big into collecting RPGs, and I never actually played it. So this is the first time that I had a chance to check it out, but it's got the same, voice acting and charm that you come to expect from the NIS games. Anything, if you've played any of the Gaia games, you know what I'm talking about. And it holds up pretty well. It's a solid game. These aren't going to be necessarily reviews of those individual games because they've been released a few times in the past, specifically Phantom Brave. Phantom Brave I did not own on the PlayStation 2, but my brother owned it when it was re-released, surprisingly, on the Wii, which was a weird choice at the time. So I think it might even be a rarer game now. But this is obviously based on the PS2 version, which the Wii wasn't going to be much of a difference except for Wiimote control support, right? So, I'm going to play this and I'm going, okay, how does it perform? Well, it performs better than it did on the PlayStation 2 and on the Wii. I would say it's not a bare bones release in that you're putting two full, significant length RPGs. It took me a few weeks to make my way through everything here, but it does harken back to a day when a lot of these RPGs were harder than they are now. There's not really the easy mode, win mode that you see in a lot of harder RPGs now. So you will have to take your time playing through them. The voice acting may not be for everybody. The camera is a little odd, and that's just sort of a relic of the 20 years ago era, right? But as far as what's really good about it, the stories are great. They're fun. You're getting two deep, good, fondly remembered RPGs that haven't had a release, in some cases nearly 20 years, and in others, we're still looking at, 13 years since we had Phantom Brave out in the retail stores. So it's cool to have them working here, and they work just fine on the Switch, without any major slowdowns or hiccups or anything, which I think it's a smart move to go back and release these PS2 games on here, whereas maybe if they had gone to the PS3 era, it might have been a little bit more difficult to be able to port and render properly on the Switch. I would be interested to see what else we can get if we go back to, maybe even the PS1 era. So I hope that in the future they start releasing more of these double packs with classic games, rendering it in proper HD on big screen. I will say this: the games, both of them, look better when you're playing in portable mode, and it's just the assets weren't originally HD in the first place, so we're upscaling. So on my 65-inch 4K TV, it's like you're playing an upscaled emulator. But playing in portable mode, and I imagine once the OLED switch comes out, it'll look even better on there. That's something to look at. And as far as picking it up, you can obviously get it digitally. I'm assuming because of the type of game it is, you're probably going to want to pick it up physical if you can, because it's going to be something of a collector's item, as I don't think it's going to have a huge print run, but hopefully it sells well enough to make more in the collection. Maybe we're going to get volume 2 and 3 and 4.
This is a fair request, and I promise I will not judge any person only as a teenager, and that this is no more right than saying all teenagers are drunken dope addicts or glue sniffers.
A hidden respite. Deep breaths released to the wind. A new beginning. What are we talking about today? Well, me and Alex are here thanks to the generosity of Sony. We recently got a code to check out Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut on the PlayStation 5. And me and Alex are going to be doing an extended review of this game. I have been playing this on the PlayStation 5 for about the last 2 weeks. I am 80 hours in. I am still not done. My God, this is probably my game of the year.
Which is interesting because last year when I reviewed, if you remember, if you're a listener, we sort of did a flip of a coin. You wanted to review The Last of Us Part 2.
Yep.
And I wanted to review Ghost of Tsushima because they were coming out. Because of all the delays, what was it, like 3 or 4 weeks apart?
Something like that, yeah, because Last of Us was June, and Ghost of Tsushima was
July.
I think, yeah. But you got it early because they wanted you to power through it.
Yeah, this is one of the few rare cases where a AAA title that wasn't like a super long RPG, that we received it, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks early.
Yeah, you had this a month
we
early.
We were playing both of these reviews around the same time.
Yep.
And I kept saying to you, dude, this is so good.
Yeah.
And you're like, really? And I think the trailers initially didn't do it as much justice as it needed to be.
Yeah.
Because the way I think I sold it on you when it came time around for this enhanced edition for the current gen was I said, hey, it's Assassin's Creed.
But with samurais.
But with samurais and refined to like its purest form.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go into super deep story spoilers.
Yeah, there will be no spoilers in this.
They're like the only spoilers will be like certain plot points that are like essential to things like how you get your armor, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Because
the game is over a year old at this point, and what we're getting now is, I think in many cases, some people's first foray into the game, because there are people that probably held off thinking they wanted to play it on a next-gen console. Now we're entrenched into the next gen.
Yep.
And the big difference we'll start off with is there was a patch to play the PS4 version in backwards compatibility mode at 60 frames per second. And I played that. It worked great. This PS5 native code version further refines that by reducing the load times even more, which it was already a fast-loading game. But it reduces the load times. They're
very brief.
Yeah, it goes to being 4K native resolution versus 4K checkerboarded previously at 60 frames per second. There seems to be a little more particles on screen because there's less texture popping because it just loads fast because it's taking advantage of the SSD and just the pure hardware increase. Audio-wise, it's identical from a soundtrack point of view, but a big feature here was when you switched on the Japanese audio version, or you went into like Kurosawa mode on the PS4 version, the voices wouldn't sync up. And that's because they only did the mouth movements synced to the
English?
To the English, and they didn't do it for the cutscenes. The cutscenes were rendered at, I think, either 24 or 30 frames per second, regardless of what you played. They were pre-rendered video.
Mm-hmm.
So normally you'd think that would shrink the size in the PS5 version because they're not using videos, they're doing it all in-engine, but the assets are bigger, so it's actually a larger game. So you're getting bang for your buck. But now that all of the videos play in real time, they're all playing at 60 frames per second, and when you switch on the Japanese mode, it has a proper lip sync for everything. Not that in most cases would normally be an issue.
But that really deepens the immersion. If
Yes.
you want an authentic Shaw Brothers or Akira Kurosawa samurai experience, you do that.
Yes, if you really want, like, especially if you're doing a second playthrough, there are many people that are going to play it on Kurosawa mode. The only issue there is it does an artificial filter to make it look like it's 24 frames per second, even if the game's running at 60. So you can do a blend where you can make it black and white and then just keep the frame rate and not have the Kurosawa filters added if you wanted to, and just put it in like Japanese for that effect. But those are sort of the technical details that are different, as well as obviously they've
Included DLC.
Yes, they've included DLC. Like, we'll get to that in a second, but there's little quality of life upgrades. I've noticed that when playing the PS4 version versus the PS5, when you swipe up on your controller to get the gust of wind coming, I found that sometimes it wouldn't register that I was flipping my finger on it on the PS4 version, whereas the PS5 seems to be more responsive overall. That might just be due to how it streams the data in, which is sweet. As far as what else has been added for this director's cut, other than the engine and quality of life upgrades, is Iki Island, which is roughly the size of...
Like half of the island, basically?
No, it's about the size of the center portion.
Oh, okay, so it's half the size of Toyotama or whatever?
It's about a third... Maybe
the first area?
Either 2/5, a third. It's a little bigger than one of the regular sections.
Okay.
Of the and it changes gameplay. So we'll get to your experience. I'll talk about what right now at the beginning here what was added for that, because I don't think in your playthrough you're doing like a 100% playthrough. I don't think you've gone to the island yet, right? Have you?
No, not yet. I'm waiting till I'm done.
Yeah, see, because you can play it two different ways. You can do it when you hit the second section of the game, or you can do it at the end, and it will change the dialogue slightly. And I'm not going to spoil it for you or anybody else, but it's a little... I can tell there's a different experience depending on how you play it that way. Basically, you go to this island, and it reveals, without me talking about any spoilers, it reveals the backstory to a lot of the story that you had gaps in the knowledge of in the main game. And it was beneficial for me to play it at the end. Playing it in between could be good, but I do feel that the correct order is to play it at the end.
Yeah, I hung out on the Ghost of Tsushima subreddit, and somebody actually asked this exact question. I'm like, to get the best story, when should I play this? And they're like, wait till after you finish the game, because it doesn't make sense for Jin to leave Tsushima before he frees it to go free Iki.
Yeah, like you can do it right when you start the second section of the game, or it might be better to do the third section, but no, it's better to do it at the very end. I'll just say that. What they added here is new character types and the new enemy types that can use all the different weapons.
Oh, that's fun.
And they will switch between them, so you have to change your stances.
Actually, I've got a complaint about the controls for this. The amount of times I have been fucked over switching stances, because it'll freeze, time will slow so I can select my stance, which is fine, but then I get stuck in this weird animation where I can't get out of it, and I've been able to replicate this so many times. It's gotten me hurt in fights every single time.
The solution, I'll tell you to that, is
quickly switch to your bow so it switches you back in the real time.
Make sure that when you're facing an enemy like that, if you're not in the right stance, it's best to use one of your throwables.
See, I almost never use them. I'm a pure sword fighter.
And
you will not beat me.
Depending on what part of the game you're in yet, if you're not the ghost, once you become the ghost, it makes a lot more sense to start shooting them. Especially since at the end of the game, it will get too difficult to do what you're doing.
Okay, yeah, because I'm noticing unless I can beat them in standoffs or assassinate them, straight up fights are getting a lot more difficult.
And that's on purpose, because when you hit a specific plot point, you determine that it's impossible to do it without becoming a ninja.
Yeah, basically your sense of honor becomes
Yeah.
a question.
So you'll find that it becomes more natural to play as the ghost.
Assassin.
Yeah, it really does, because it's certain equipment that you equip will really enhance that. And if you get into a situation like that, if you've built up your status, you can enter ghost mode and terrify everybody. So that will save you a lot, but that's getting into the weeds. Like I said, there's enemies that use all three or four different stances. There's a new enemy type that's called a shaman, or they're basically like a witch doctor type thing where they're chanting and they will buff the enemies.
Oh, that's cool.
So you got to take them out quickly. When you're there, it's an island where people don't like samurais. So you're at the beginning fighting to assert yourself without really showing who you are.
Yeah.
There's new mechanics involved as far as, you know how there's the little fox shrines?
Yeah.
Well, they replaced the fox shrines with animal shrines. Basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Only some of them are monkeys.
That's cool.
Some of them are, I think there's a deer one or two, and there's a lot of cat ones, and they're these big furry little fluffy cats, and you get to pet them when you're done.
Oh, that's cool. I'm in. I'm so in. My God.
There's still there's a couple lighthouses, there's a couple
Strongholds and all that shit?
oh yeah, there's a few of them, and then there's also your bamboo striking areas. The only other thing they add that wasn't in the other part of the game or the main game is archery challenges.
Okay.
And after playing a few times, you get used to it, and you have a timer going up, and you have all these targets, and you have to hit them within a certain amount of time, and the lower your time, the better. And I only got bronze for a lot of it.
What do you get for doing them all? New armor, new bow?
I think it's charms and upgrades for certain charms, and it can increase your resolve. I was pretty maxed.
Yeah, like at this point in the game, because most of my 80-hour playtime, I do a lot of exploring. I do every side mission, then I do main story.
Yeah, I beat the game in about 80 hours initially.
Yeah.
Now, you're 2/3 of the way through because I didn't take any time to find the banners. I found that tedious when I first played it.
Yep.
And
I've got about half of them so far.
And I didn't... What else did I not do? I didn't do the banners, and I didn't do all the crickets, and...
I think I'm missing 4 crickets so far,
Yeah.
and I've got most of the artifacts. Again,
oh, yeah.
by
That's what
accident.
I was missing maybe 50% of the artifacts, but that was mostly lore and trophy bait.
Yeah.
So that's not essential to the story. So that's why... And I was trying to do it for a review at the time when we were getting ramped up for next gen coming.
Yeah.
So that is back where you can collect different lore pieces in the island. Banners are replaced with specific banners for your family's clan. Mm-hmm. Because there's a reason that they're all over the island. Now, outside of that, the other big gameplay mechanic change, which I loved, and I mean, it's mild spoilers, nothing against the plot, but when you arrive on the island, you face off with a new enemy that is, another Khan, essentially.
Oh, okay.
And she is, they call her a witch. So she makes you drink some sort of hallucinogen. Mm-hmm. And that's making people go crazy, and they're dying on the island. They're going mad and dying. But you have a strong will, so you think you can power through it. But what it does is it gives you hallucinations.
Oh.
And it'll be random. So you'll be riding your horse or walking around, and you'll just come into a field, and in the back of your headphones or ear, she'll yell at you, making you doubt yourself, saying, you just want to die. Everybody hates you. And then the sky will turn dark, and she'll appear in front of you, or enemies will appear in front of you, and you'll freak out, and you'll start to lose your resolve and health. And you got to run around and slash things and make your way out of it to shake off the acid flashback.
Weird.
And sometimes you'll get the flashback, or you'll get the acid trip, and you'll go to attack an enemy and then realize it's actually an ally because you're losing your mind. And this will happen at rent. You could be climbing a shrine and doing the parkouring, and while you're doing your grappling hook, it could attack you randomly.
That's pretty cool.
So you're always on edge while you're on the island.
Huh.
And I was like, that's neat. That really switches it up. And it also gives you the ability, you can find certain specific lore points on the island that will let you have a flashback to when you were a kid and fill out more of your history.
That's really neat.
So that's what I'll get into there. That's what they add. They also add a mechanic to your horse that allows your horse to charge at enemies and knock them down and kill them.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, although I will say this, during my entire playthrough so far, I've used the horse like 3 times. Because like I said, I explore.
Yeah.
But the horse is cool because I got to name it Sora. Which I thought was really neat.
And then, of course, there's certain missions where you need the horse. So the horse is more useful on Iki Island specifically because you can mow down people. Okay. So that is sort of what's happening there. It's a good complementary thing. It's not like it's tacked on. It actually fills in a crucial point of the lore and history of the game.
One of the things I will say, because I talk in a Discord server about this, Ghost of Tsushima now sets the bar for this type of action-adventure samurai game. Ubisoft would be stupid to do Assassin's Creed Japan or Assassin's Creed China now.
And like I am a casual Assassin's Creed fan. You're a big Assassin's Creed fan.
I loved... My favorite one was Black Flag, then Rogue, and then probably Odyssey I loved. I put over 100 hours into it, and I'm still not done. I didn't like Origins as much because of the Egypt setting, but Valhalla, huge fan.
Yeah.
That just got DLC too.
Now, Valhalla, as much as I liked...
It's a lot of busy work.
There's a point where they put too much busy work and stuff in there. There's too much stuff, and when everything scales to you, there's no incentive to do better.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things added now where you can turn that off. In Ghost of Tsushima, I'm powerful, but to win a fight, it doesn't matter if I have the best gear in the game. If I miss that parry, I'm still dead. And it's not as punishing as Dark Souls or Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
It also encourages you to do the mythic legend stuff so you can get special moves.
Yep.
Because if you fail a parry or you get really hurt if you think you're going to die, you can, as long as you have enough resolve, always break out almost
Heavenly
a one
Strike.
Heavenly Strike. Well, there's also one you get a little later that is a 3-point strike.
Dance of Wrath, yeah.
So, or you can light your sword on fire.
That one I haven't gotten.
That's in the last section of the game.
I figured as much.
So if you do that sort of stuff, that will give you an advantage that there's always a way out if you make a mistake.
Yes.
So I'll say that the voice acting is pretty top notch. Have you encountered anything that
the guy who plays Kenji is a little goofy, but that's his idea.
He's basically a characters that are ripped right out of Kurosawa films.
Yeah. Yuna, I'm a big fan of. Jin's voice actor is fantastic. Lord Shimura is exactly what I pictured that Japanese, like, Jito to sort of be.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I wanted.
He's a lord, but he's not the shogun.
Yeah. He's basically discount Shogun.
He's the governor of the area, is the essential.
Kotal Khan is probably about the only guy that I don't like. And obviously because he's the big bad of the game. It's just, his performance comes across as so hammy.
It gets better as the farther you get into it, but I find...
Jin is the best so far.
The enemy from Iki Island is better.
Oh, okay. So that'd be cool.
Basically because she fucks with your mind so hard. She's better written that way. As far as other characters, one thing I will note, and it's kind of funny, I never thought of it, but when my brother was playing the PS4 game, his wife walked in, and you know, I'm going to say this, she goes, "Oh, great, are you playing one of your big titty anime games?" And he goes, "Hey, no." And then she sat down and watched, and she goes, "Oh, wait, these people look realistic."
My favorite...
And then she sat with him and watched him play the entire game, because she said, I
It's
can't believe how
gorgeous.
Realistic this looked, and it wasn't hokey.
One of the things I will say about this, and this is my biggest praise I'm going to put on this game. Every frame in this game is art.
Yes.
If you've been following my Twitter, which is @birdman_, or my Instagram, I post a lot of Ghost of Tsushima pictures.
Photo mode was just starting to be a thing when that...
This is the perfect photo mode. You can adjust focal length, f-stop. You can adjust exposure, film grain, filters, particle effects, wind direction, time of day.
And it's enhanced.
Poses.
It's enhanced from the version that was available in the PS4.
Jesus Christ, this is amazing. And if you thought my pick spam from Mass Effect was annoying, this is way worse. But I have taken so many cool pictures. I had somebody say, "My God, Mike, that's a great composition." Like, literally, I was sitting here with my friend Liam the other day. I'm thinking, you know what? If I had the tools, I could make a movie out of this engine.
Well, and you, if nobody knew that this was a PS4 game originally, you would think this was designed for the PS5.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me that it wasn't, and they just adapted the engine. So it makes you think, what can Sucker Punch do next?
Yeah, like this is honestly, this is art. Like this is probably one of the best games I have ever played.
Yeah.
Period.
See, you were talking about Game of the Year contention. And normally I'm like, if it's an enhanced edition or Game of the Year edition, or, you know, like if it's been released within a year and it's the same game essentially, does it qualify for me? But because of the way COVID has been, and because of how everything's been delayed, what else came out in 2021 that was as good as this?
That I don't know. Like I'm thinking the only thing that is really worth us paying attention to is, I think you could make a case for maybe Psychonauts 2. Is it Game of the Year? I don't know yet.
But like this at least right now, unless something drastically different comes out and changes, this has got to be in contention for PS5, like PlayStation Game of the Year.
Yeah, for sure.
And interestingly enough, that was my pick for PlayStation Game of the Year last year. And last year it had such stiff competition between that and Final Fantasy VII Remake
and The Last of Us Part 2.
And the reason, as much as I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, it would have been my Game of the Year. It was in that weird category. Well, it's a remake, but it's a reimagining, so it could qualify as my Game of the Year. But I always try to go with the new IP first, right? Mm-hmm. So if this wasn't your PlayStation Game of the Year last year, it's probably going to be Game of the Year this year for you.
Yeah, like honestly, this is probably the best PlayStation experience I have had in a really long time. Now, I also haven't beaten Spider-Man Miles Morales, but that was last year, so
I played it, and it was great, but it was more of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
This is a wholly new experience.
Yeah, like there's so much here to love. Sword combat feels fluid and natural when you don't get that weird slowdown glitch that I get. And it's not a glitch, it's a gameplay thing. But the thing is, when you switch sword stances, you're in slow mode for so long. And if you get hit, it takes you out. Like it's weird quality of life, and I don't even know how you'd fix it, because the buttons here do a lot of heavy lifting.
It's going to sound bad, but when I say this to you, but I never encountered that because I was just good at knowing when to switch. See, I think maybe you're having trouble getting the timing right.
No, it's like, I will show you what I mean later, but I'm very aggressive when I fight. Like, I charge in, I do standoff.
Okay. That's if you're trying to play like the ninja, but with the samurai mode.
Yeah.
And you need to think slow and steady with the samurai mode. Once you become the ghost, like the full, and you embrace that style of play, I think you'll be like, wow, I can just go in and destroy people. Mm-hmm. Because when you're the ghost and you have the right equipment equipped and you have your gauges filled, you're chopping limbs off left and right.
When I play this, I play with 3 sets of armor now. I play 90% of the game in Traveler's attire. You might be saying, why? Because it exposes more of the map. I find more points of interest. Plus, when my controller finds an artifact or something of importance in the area, my controller beeps. Or doesn't beep. It vibrates. Yep. So I follow that, and I can usually find things or find little hidden things. I also wear the Clan Sakai armor, especially when I do standoffs, because I can do more of the insta-kills. I can chain up to 5. Well, and then I wear the ghost armor when I go into bases now, and I'm like, fuck it, Assassin's Creed. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so there's late game armor that you can get that will help your specific style of play. But I won't spoil it, but there is armor for that. And I did forget to mention that in Iki Island, there's another armor set.
Cool.
And that armor set is all about max damage DPS immediately.
Cool.
See, it removes parrying, like the strong parry. But basically, if you get really good at parrying and dodging,
I'm a master at it.
With that armor, every parry fills up your resolve.
Oh man, everything's gonna die.
So I didn't use that armor because I was full ghost mode.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is a Michael armor.
Oh yeah, it's so good. Like honestly, as we begin to kind of wrap things up here, one of the things I loved about this is there's little things to do, and it's one of the things I love is obviously the fox shrines, but I love the haikus. When we started this off, I read you a selection from the Of Peace. Another one that I like, but I don't have it in front of me, is when you do the haikus, you get different headbands.
Yep, all different colors.
The headband I've worn for almost the entire game is the headband of fear, because I love the way it looks. That black on red, it just looks great. And you can also change the color of your sword. I think I wear something called Ash's Ember, which is this black and red. And the reason I do that is I used to have a katana that looked remarkably like that. Now, obviously, that's one of those flea market jobs, but it still looked cool. Yeah, the haikus will give you different headbands, which I think is really cool. Plus, I collect hats. I collect a lot of hats.
I know. I was going to say something. I realized one thing we haven't played, and now we can, once you get up to my point. There's the Legends Online mode.
Yes, that looks awesome.
Since we both have copies, that was not available when I reviewed the original version, and I've been waiting till you caught up. So that is something that we will have to do on our own and maybe talk about briefly on another show at some point. But
it's a co-op mode.
But it's a co-op mode. They've included so much stuff, and we didn't even mention the duels.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, I found there's this mythic quest to get armor, but you have to kill these 5 guys and then face off against some dude in like a cave. Mm-hmm. I did all those by accident. I'm like, oh, you think you're pretty fucking tough, eh?
And they're all very iconic and very unique situations. And the best part is, they won't attack you. They will sit cross-legged and wait for you to approach.
Yeah. You have to talk to them before you can do whatever.
And they're honorable. Like they'll let you heal up or be ready to go. And then when you fight, they're very stylistic. Like they'll even change like the weather around you. So like leaves will be blowing and stuff. Those are amazing if you play them in the Kurosawa mode.
My favorite one, the final one, I love the location, and I think it's called Duel on the Mirrored Lake. I love that one. Duel of the Autumn Leaves, because you're fighting under this big red tree where basically Lord Shima trained you. Very similar look. And my favorite one, Duel of the Crashing Waves. On the beach, because it looks like the logo from like
it's Toho?
Yeah, it looks like Toho. I hit my mic there for a sec. It looks like the logo from the beginning of Battle Royale, where just the waves are crashing up against the rocks and you're beating the shit out of this guy. Now, I am an asshole because I have so much bamboo strikes. I have a max resolve. I'm like, eat shit. Dance of Wrath, Dance of Wrath, Dance of Wrath, Dance of Wrath. Strike to strike. They don't even touch me.
I know, eh?
Oh my god. And just with these big assholes like, I'm gonna strike you, parry, dead. My god. Like, the amount of times I've heard Blair say, shut up, just because I'm like, oh, you like that, motherfucker? I love this game. Seriously.
And remember when last year when we talked, just to close out, and you were like, oh, Last of Us 2 is so heavy, so emotional, it's so good, but it's, I don't know if I can play it more than once. That's the difference here. When I said I think this game is better,
this is like a movie that you can go back.
I said it simply because I think you can play this at least 2 times, once in English and color, and once in Kurosawa mode.
Yeah, like the difference between this and The Last of Us throws a lot of heavy stuff at you, and there's a plot point in that game, I'm not going to tell you. I had nightmares, and I felt very unclean, and I'll say it happens in the aquarium, and that's all I'll say.
And here, you're not going to encounter that. You will, as you get to the end, encounter some heavy moments.
You get some good emotional moments in here.
You will get some fairly heavy moments, especially in the last act.
Like, my favorite story so far is Lady Masako, because I didn't realize she's bisexual. I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Interesting. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's showing you what feudal Japan was like before they basically whitewashed themselves into being a very, very, for a long time, homophobic culture.
Yeah, because like,
and even to this day, it's still frowned upon.
they talk about why this is like the story is. I'm not going to say where it happens, but the Lady Masako has a servant named Mai, and they become very close. She says, and she says, my husband's away fighting wars, doing his dedication to the Shogun, to the Jito, and she got lonely. And when Lady Masako makes her decision regarding Mai, I'm thinking, that is fucking heavy.
Oh, there's more of that later on, so you'll be in store for that. But it's never. There's nothing in this game that you would go, oh my god, my kids can't see this when I'm playing it.
It's violent as shit, but yeah.
It's violent as shit, but no different than any samurai movie.
Like this is what you would expected to see in a modern samurai movie.
There's nothing.
Or even old one.
There's nothing in this that will shake you to your core.
No,
but it will make you feel.
Yeah, and that's what I love about this. This is a wonderful storytelling experience. I cannot tell you how excited I've been. I've been happy. I've been sad. I've had the energy going. This is probably one of the best games I have ever played. As of today, this is my PlayStation 5 game of the year.
So what you're saying is, Alex is now, what, is it 2 for 2? This and my suggestion of Persona 5?
Yep, so far, yeah, you are 2 for 2. You definitely know me. So thank you to Sony for providing a review code for this game. This is like I said, this has been a wonderful experience.
It's well worth the price. And if you're wondering if you played the PS4 version, should I upgrade?
Yeah.
It
looks incredible.
Like you might go, oh, do I really want to double dip within a year? If you got a PS5,
this is a must-own title for PS5.
It does actually warrant a full upgrade.
Yeah, like honestly, in the terms of PlayStation 5 games, Spider-Man, both of them, Final Fantasy VII with the DLC, Persona 5 Royal,
Ratchet,
Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2.
Those
are your essentials.
You're pretty much at the point now where a lot of people say I need to have 5 to 7 games before I consider buying a console. And I know the consoles are in demand and there's not enough stock right now. But if you're somebody who's been waiting, you're like, I usually wait till at least the second year before I get it. There's enough now.
Yeah, this is totally worth it. So ultimately, Ghost of Tsushima, Director's Cut on PlayStation 5. So recommended. Please check this out.
Do you have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Hold that thought. It's crapper time.
Last year, this time, we checked out WRC 9 on the PlayStation 4, and then a little bit later, we checked out the PlayStation 5 version once the console had launched. And in comparing the two of them, we found that the graphics for last year was sort of a bit of a bump up in quality when you went to the next gen at the time console, as well as adding some haptic feedback and trigger support. And it was pretty neat for a game that was ostensibly released slightly before the next gen and then right in the launch window of it. So that was kind of neat. And I had wondered at the time, what was WRC 10 going to look like? Because this is a franchise where you're pretty much almost every year you're getting a new one. And I thought, okay, well, maybe now they'll have a year to really take advantage of the next gen features. So our friends over at Nacon sent a review code for the series consoles as well as the PlayStation 5. And I did play the Xbox version on both the Series S and X, and they were pretty smooth. I didn't notice anything major. Like, I'm not going to be going into deep analysis of how everything works differently on the Series S versus the X. That's for people like Digital Foundry or somebody to go through the real nitty-gritty. I can just say that it was an enjoyable experience on both. But my preferred platform is still PlayStation for this, specifically the PS5, because of the features that you get with the DualSense controller. I can tell you this, the graphics have been slightly bumped up again, a little bit more realistic, a little taking a little more advantage, I would say, of the hardware. The DualSense controls have been significantly fine-tuned. I find that the pressure-sensitive triggers are a little more tuned, a little more prominent. There's still use of the speaker that's built into the controller, which is neat. The haptics are even more fine-tuned, so you hit, let's say, rough terrain on your left side of your car, you'll feel it on the left side of the controller, but maybe not feel it on the right side at all. Or if you're like hydroplaning, you'll feel it all around. It's kind of neat when you spin out. So that's really neat. There is a in-depth career mode. It seems to be a little more robust than last year. This is, being the 10th game, 10th iteration, as well as having a 50th anniversary mode of the Racing Championship League itself. So there's a lot more content here packed into the game than what was in last year. And last year's was a good game. It was my first experience with the franchise, but it was good just in general. This seems to be just a step up. And, it was clear that this was made with the next gen or current gen right now consoles in mind. And I'm very happy to say that it's not just a, people always question that when it's a yearly game, is it just a splashed on new coat of paint? No, this is, clearly building upon the previous game. And it's worth it for people that both had last year's game, or if you're new to it and you want a cool simulation racing game that's very realistic in its physics.
Those magnificent bastards! Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
And that's going to do it for the show this week. What do we have coming up, or what do I have that I'm doing? I have a possible review of an Audio-Technica microphone and maybe a headset. The requests are in. They said that they're checking stock and sending if they can. We'll see. If so, it'll be interesting to try out a different mic for the first time in a while, just to see, is there a major difference in the vocal profile or anything. And they're marketing it as like a podcasting mic, which I don't think that they've done previously with their lines. Theirs have mostly been like vocal for professional studio recordings, that sort of stuff. Same with their headset. We've done way back a few years ago a Audio-Technica wireless headset, but it had only, I think, like 4 or 6 hours of battery life. And it had required a dongle, which, they're good quality headphones. And then we had a wired headset from them that was pretty decent, actually. It was quite good. But this one, if it comes in for review, it's their first one that is Bluetooth with, no dongle required and 50 hours of battery life. So if 50 hours are there, coupled with the quality Audio-Technica is known for, because they are based on their M50 line of wired headphones, which is like the legendary standard bearer at the entry-level audiophile quality. If that's the case, and it works out, we'll have a review of that in the next week or so. Also, waiting on the VR cover cable. Like, we did a review, was it a week or two ago, where it was the I think it was the 1 meter, 1 meter, 2 meter, whatever it was, the I'm drawing a blank. I think it was, it was either the 1 or 2 meter, the 5 gigabit capable charging / data cable for the Oculus Quest and pretty much any other device. Well, they said, hey, would you like to check out the longer one, which is the 10 gigabit one? That's the fiber optic one. That's like 15 or 16 feet long. And I said, sure, let's check that out. So that is in the mail. I can see that it's tracking. Who knows when it's going to get here. But other than that, I have a couple games coming out this week that I have paid for myself that are not part of the review schedule that I'm going to blast through as fast as I can before major review titles start coming up. And that is Life is Strange: True Colors and Tales of Arise, both on PlayStation 5. Probably going to do True Colors first. I can probably do that in the weekend, just as like a relaxing week. Well, relaxing. It's going to be an emotional game, but and then Tales will be my game that I go to over the next week when I'm not reviewing items. As far as other things coming in for review, we've got Birdman and I both have Star Trek 4K, first 4 movies in 4K, and as well as re-releases of some of them on Blu-ray. We're going to be doing a joint review of that on the show coming up, I think, this week. There's also some screeners that we were sent that we're going to go through and determine which ones we're going to review and which ones, might go into loose cannon or other properties like that. But as far as anything else coming, I might be having something from Universal come in the mail. We're not 100% sure yet, but things are sort of up in the air. As far as gaming reviews, what we have coming that I can sort of guarantee is, well, not guarantee. The hope is we're getting WarioWare. Not 100% sure on that, but I haven't heard back. We were supposed to get Sonic Colors, but maybe that's not happening because of what we've seen in the news regarding it. So maybe not. As far as anything else, I have been in talks. I'm probably getting Ken: A Bridge of Spirits for review. That comes out on the 21st, so I'm assuming we'll have it in the next week or two, as long as things work out. As far as anything else, Lost Judgment's on our docket as well. I'll be in contact with Sega to see if that is still coming or not. But everything else is sort of loose up in the air. We don't have anything else sort of down pat that we know for sure is coming, except that come October we'll be playing Far Cry 6. That's a lock. It's just a matter of if we're going to have a couple copies or not, if it's just going to be one for us to review. But everything else is sort of, September is a wishy-washy month, which is perfect timing for me to get 2 games at once this week. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I know Birdman's got a bunch of stuff on the go. I think he's got some board games and some more RPG books, plenty of RPG books to go through. So we'll see, and then we'll see what comes when movies start rolling in. But that's going to do it. I will be back with something else. We're also going to be having programming pretty much every day for the next 2 weeks, at least. Whether it be Aaron's Earth versus Soup, or if it's our Loose Cannon, Future Imperfect, Nerd to the Third surprise show, maybe spinoff, as well as our regular programming. Sunday Funnies returns this weekend. It's going to be right until the 18th. We're going to have at least one podcast every day, sometimes maybe even 2. So keep an eye out for that. I am back. Birdman is back. He's feeling good. We're hitting the ground running. We're going to make sure that we have plenty of great, fun, ridiculous content for you. And that's going to do it. I'll be back. Something else later on this week.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.